Hello team, welcome back. In the last lecture, we have seen how we can create the multi-node cluster and how we can start up a service on the multi-node cluster, right? And today we are going to discuss how the Docker Swarm manage the traffic, right? So let's start with. So today we are going to discuss about the routing mesh, right? But before moving further, we need to understand what is the routing mesh in Docker Swarm. So team, routing mesh is a mechanism, is an algorithm which is used by the Docker Swarm to manage the global traffic. In the last lecture, if we will go to the terminal, on a terminal, if we will execute a command docker service ls, then we will see we have executed an service Drupal, right? And that Drupal service was accessible on all of my nodes, right? If we will go to the DigitalOcean, if I will copy any of the IP and paste it in a browser, then you can see it will open the Drupal homepage, right? This is the website we have created yesterday, www.testme.com. If I will copy some another IP, suppose I'm going to copy the IP of node 1 and paste it, this will land you on the same page. If I will copy some another IP, right, and paste it here, then this will land you on the same page. So it doesn't matter where the application is running, right? If we will see Docker service ps Drupal, then my Drupal service is running on node 1, right? But still I'm able to access my Drupal service on node 3, node 2 and node 1 itself. So this is called global traffic management. And how Docker Swarm is managing the global traffic management? The Docker Swarm is managing the global traffic management with the mechanism or algorithm which is called routing mesh. So we will discuss what is the routing mesh and how Docker is managing the global traffic inside the Docker Swarm. So what Docker Swarm does? Docker Swarm publish the services on some ports, right? And allow the outer worlds to access these services. So in the last lecture, when we have started the Drupal services, we have exposed that services on port 80, right? And we are able to access the service with the help of the IP on port 80. This is called Ingress routing mesh, right? So whenever you are creating the service and you want to access that service on the outer world, then you need to publish that service on some port which will be accessible from the outer world. And this all mechanism is called the Ingress routing mesh. What Ingress routing mesh does? So the Ingress routing mesh enables each node in the swarm to accept the connection, right? It doesn't matter that my service is running on node 1 or node n or node m or node k or node n, right? It doesn't matter. Routing mesh enables each node which is connected in the swarm to accept the connection on the published port, right? If we have published our service on port 8080 or port 9090 or port 80, so if you have published your service on any port, if you are accessing that service, right, in that case the routing mesh is responsible to enable each node in the Docker Swarm to accept the connection on that published port for the specific service, right? And routing mesh routes all the incoming requests from the outer world to the Docker Swarm to the published port on available nodes to an active container. And how routing mesh is doing all these things? Routing mesh is doing all these things with the help of Docker Swarm load balancer, right? So we will discuss all these things with the help of a picture as well. Right now, what we are doing, we are starting in service on a port which is accessible from the outer world, and Docker Swarm making that service available on that port on every node, right? With the help of the routing mesh algorithm or routing mesh mechanism. And how routing mesh mechanism is managing all these things? It is managing all these things with the help of the Docker Swarm load balancer, right? So this is the command we have executed yesterday. We have executed Docker service create, then we provide the name Drupal, then provide the network overlay network hyphen p 80 colon 80, then the service name. In this particular command, we have basically published the service hyphen p then 80. The left hand side port is the published port, right? And the right hand side port of the colon is the container port. So 80 is the published port which is published with that particular service to access that service on the outer world, right? And the internal port is also 80. It means the right hand side port 80 will manage the traffic inside the container, but the but the left hand side port 80 will accept the traffic from the outer world, right? So the published port is a port where the swarm makes the service available, and the container port is the port where container will listen the traffic. And we have already discussed that routing mesh listen on the published port for any IP address assigned to a particular node in the Docker swarm. Now let's discuss this. How routing mesh listen the published port on any IP address which is basically available in the Docker swarm. So suppose this is the diagram of my service. Right now I have executed my service on two replicas. It means two container which I have displayed in the yellow color are running the service, right? First container is running the service on port 10.0.0.1 port 80, and my service name is myweb1, right? The second is running on port 10.0.0.2 and port 80, right? So the first one is the node 1 and the second one is the node 2. Node 3 is still not running any container which executing my service. So it means in my Docker swarm, I have three nodes. Out of these three nodes, two nodes are running my service and each node is running a particular container for my service, right? Now, if I will access my service on any of these three nodes, right, that particular request will directly land on the Docker Swarm load balancer, and then Docker Swarm load balancer will identify the container where it will route your traffic, right? Why we are calling it load balancer? Because this is balancing the load. Somehow if node 1 is not able to process your traffic, then it will calculate it itself and route your traffic to the node 2, right? So I hope with this particular picture you are able to get the point how the routing mesh algorithm is working, right? It doesn't matter on which node your container is running, right? If you will access any node which is available inside the Docker swarm on the published port, then you would be able to access your services, right? This is the beauty of the Docker swarm. You don't need to specify any particular container, you don't need to specify any particular node. You can access your service on any node which is the part of the Docker swarm. It doesn't matter that that particular node is running your service or not. This is called Ingress network or the Ingress routing mesh. If you want to verify that where your service is running, then you need to execute this particular command: docker service inspect hyphen hyphen format. We are formatting the endpoint specification port. Then I need to define the service name, right? So let's execute this particular command. So I have typed the complete command docker service inspect, then in this particular format, and my service name, right, which is Drupal. Hit enter button and you will get the output like this. See, this is the protocol TCP on which the particular traffic is routing from the outer world. Target port is 80, published port is 80, and published mode is ingress, right? You can see over here. So this is the way. If you want to identify that on which port my service is exposed, on which port my service is available for the outer world, then you can execute this particular command to identify the port where your service is running for the outer world and where your service is running for the container itself. So this is the answer of the question which we have raised in the last lecture. We was able to access our service on each of the node which are part of the Docker swarm, although my Drupal service is running on single node in this particular swarm, right? So the routing mesh algorithm or routing mesh mechanism is responsible for these kind of flexibility, right? If your service is running on any of node, you don't need to worry about anything. You just need to hit a particular DNS or you want to hit a particular IP to access your services, right? So this is all for the day. Thank you, team. Thanks for your time. If you have any question, any doubt regarding this particular lecture, then please let me know and I will happy to answer. Thank you, team. Thanks for your time.